Hey, what's up? This is Freed's first time. My name is Freed, and if this is your first time, I'm just your average run-of-the-mill whiskey fan that likes the sound of his own voice. And I like to pair whiskey with music, which I will be doing at the end of this video, because just like whiskey, I feel as if music is best when it's shared. So today, we're looking at another Benriach. This is the third one that I've made a review on, and the first two, I'll put links to them up there. The first two were not for me, not for me. Not to say that they were bad quality. I wanted to make that distinction because you can drink a whiskey and tell that it was just made in a rush, and the quality of the ingredients and the barrels and whatnot were just not at a level that certain whiskey people would prefer. And that's not the case with the whiskeys I tried from Benriach before. The quality was there, without a doubt. The quality and the expertise in making it were absolutely there. It's just that flavor profile wasn't for me. And that's just the nature of the whiskey beast. It's gonna happen. And that's, it's a small percentage, actually, that I find and I taste that I just don't care for. So the vast majority, I dig. And then there's that small percentage that just hit me right in the feels and the heart and the goodies. The goodies? Anyways, back to Benriach. This is the original 12-year-old. Now, if you're at the liquor store and you have a bottle of the 12-year-old and a bottle of the 10-year-old in your hand, please know, and you can find this information just by looking at the bottle itself, that the 12-year-old isn't just the 10-year-old that's 2 years older. They're both matured in different sets of barrels. The 12-year-old is port barrels, bourbon barrels, and sherry barrels, whereas the 10-year-old is virgin oak, bourbon, and sherry. So there is going to be a difference in flavor, not just age. So, take that into consideration because they're pretty close in price, if my memory serves. This one, I think it's between $50 and $60 USD, which, yeah, what you get for that price, that's actually really good. It is naturally presented, so no chill filtration and no coloring added. So that gives me an automatic full points on my color spectrum. Not color spectrum, but my scoring spectrum, which I'll explain. 46% ABV, if I have not said that. Now, I'm still sticking with my scoring system, which is as follows. 5 points for the color. And usually I'll give it the full 5 if it's a natural color. And then if it's not, if E150 has been included into that, then I will adjust the score accordingly. 15 points for the whiff, or the nose, 15 points for the palate, and 15 points for the finish, for a grand total of 50 maximum. So I'll be giving this a score at the end of that as well. So I don't think there's anything more to say about this than just to hop in it. I poured this a while ago, and I don't think it's, new news that leaving the whiskey in the glass for a certain period of time will help it open up and those flavors will kind of come alive. But it's even more so appropriate for this one, I've found. Just putting that out there before it begins. So I did pre-pour this, and I have not added water, if that makes any sense. But I did, when I'm making my notes, add some water, which did change it a little bit, more so than the other Benriachs, and I'll get to that when the time comes. So let's just check this baby out on the whiff. Man, it's still not to the temperature it needs to be. All right on. So on the whiff. Oh, the color. Yeah, I forgot about that. Natural color, which is awesome. It's so full 5 points on that one. I would say it's like an old gold, and I don't think the camera's gonna pick it up, but there is a bit of a glint, like a little glint of orange in there. You could probably see it more in the bottle itself than you can in the glass because of the volume. But yeah, it's a nice color, especially when you realize that is all natural, baby. Okay, on the whiff. Malty and sweet. Like a citrus, like orange specifically. Citrus chili honey. Have you had that spicy honey before? It's got a very distinct smell, and if you mix that with a bit of like a citrusy type, maybe like an orange blossom honey, you're finding that. If you haven't made chili honey before, you really should. The shit's really good. Anyways. I'm getting like a waxy, rubbery, like a new toy type vibe from this, which is usually indicative of a sherry maturation or at least a sherry finish. That's how it hits me anyway. That citrus is kind of riding on all of those things too, and it's kind of hitting to the point now to where it's almost like a citrusy soap or shampoo. Nice. And I'm also getting a little hint of cinnamon and some like butterscotch fudge, which in my opinion probably is coming from the time spent in the bourbon barrels. That's a great nose. I enjoy that a lot. It's fun. And I remember making my notes. Every time I came back to the nose, there was something new to discover, and it was really cool. So the nose on this one does change, and it doesn't just kind of hold down the fort. It expands itself. It's great. All right, on the palate. Ready? All right, Gambé. She's a little spicy, a little hot. Kind of drinks a little bit hotter than 46%, which now is the time to bring up that water conversation I mentioned before. Adding a little bit of water does tamp down that heat a little bit, and it brings some sweetness that wasn't there to, a more drinkable area. It just brings it up. It brings up the sweetness, because without the water, there's not a whole lot of sweetness at all. It's very oaky, it's very dry. It's actually a little thin. And water kind of increases the viscosity of it, oddly enough. Diluting it does that. Strange, but awesome. I have like a bitter dark chocolate covered cherry and Play-Doh. That's an interesting palate. It's not as good as the nose for me, but I'm a nose guy, man. I'm a very olfactory centric type of person, but it is a good palate. It really is compared to the other ones. I definitely prefer this one. The finish is barely medium. I mean, just fell across the line between short and medium. So I'm getting some burnt caramel, black coffee, which kind of riding the bitterness train. And then that's about it. And the oakiness kind of hangs out too. It's so much better than the other ones. Very happy to finally find, I won't say a winner, but one that I would not mind buying again. It wouldn't be my first choice to buy again, but I definitely would. The other two, absolutely not. So the grand total on this, I gave the color a 5, obviously. Let's take a look at my notes. I gave the whiff, or the nose, a 12 out of 15, the palate a 10, and the finish an 8, for a grand total of 35. 35 out of 50 is what this is getting, and that's much better than the other ones. Nice. For the price, though, it really is okay. A 12-year-old single malt for that price, for sure, it's good. All right, to the song pairing for this whiskey. It is actually a, relatively contemporary song. It was made within the last 10 years, which is a little bit out of my wheelhouse, out of the norm, anyway. And it is a band called Houndmouth, which is just fun to say. Houndmouth. How now, brown cow? How now, brown cow? Out of Indiana, and the song's called Sedona. And it's just a really cool song with a very singable chorus where you can just, with your friends, just belt it out, which is kind of how I visualize it all. We're going California, but we're all out of work. I guess that's better than a grave and a hearse. Whoa. And this whiskey is just there and is in the conversation. It's not the conversation, but it's there. And everyone's kind of listening to that song, singing along with it while having a glass of this. I think it works perfectly well. It's a bit jaunty, it's a bit fun, it's sing-songy, and it's a perfect comparison. Not perfect comparison, it's a perfect pairing for this 12-year-old Speyside. So that's that. Short and sweet, baby. Finally, a bit of a winner. So just a recap, that was a 35 out of 50 from me. Give it a shot. Couldn't hurt. And I'd like to try the 10 as well. because I want to see if that virgin oak does anything for the spiciness. I would think it would kind of increase it because that's just what virgin oak tends to do for my palate. But anyways, we'll cross that bridge if and when we ever get to it. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you would kindly, please give me a thumbs up or subscribe, and I will continue kicking these babies out. So thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next one.